Welcome to episode 14 of Your Life is the Medicine. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you are well wherever you are in your life and in the world. My name is Sonny Miles, and I'm your host. And today I really want to talk about spring. So, sort of energetics of spring, what spring is bringing up for me, and then how we tend to ourselves physically in the spring, coming from the perspective of more traditional systems like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. So welcome. We are a couple weeks past the spring equinox and fully in spring, though still early spring. And I want to talk about sort of the energy of spring. And the energy of the equinox is really this time of balance of light and darkness, of more of the yin and yang energy, of balance perhaps of the feminine and the masculine. And many of us often feel very unbalanced. And I was really thinking about how we can use the predictable rhythms of nature to help us anchor and to help us feel balanced. And so in this time of relative balance, like we've moved beyond the equinox into a period of time now where we have more light than dark, but it's not the middle of summer, right? We're still sort of moving from that balanced place into a more predominant light place, but really reflecting on what is balance and what is balance in our lives. And I'm in Colorado, and we have not had a typical winter for Colorado. It has been warm and windy, and we've had very little to no snow and precipitation. And so nature to me has not felt balanced or predictable. And yet when I think about the rhythms of the moon and the day-night cycle, there is predictability and balance in those cycles. And so even when the world feels completely unbalanced and unpredictable and chaotic, and even your own micro environment may not feel predictable or typical, we can still find some predictability and some anchoring in rhythm through these rhythms that are stable and are predictable through day and light, day and night, and the cycle of the moon. And for me, I started doing a new moon wisdom circle through a physician community called Vishuddha about a year and a half ago. And so every month, right around the new moon, we do a women's circle. And that rhythm has really benefited my own life, that every new moon, I sit down and I think about the energetics of the season, and I look at some of the astrology, and I think about what's coming up for me in my life, in my work, in the world, and we sit in circle together and talk about these things. And so there is this rhythmicity that helps anchor me. And sometimes the month goes by and it's like, oh my gosh, it's already here, and it has felt totally chaotic, but that anchoring, that moment of pause, helps reestablish that rhythmicity. And when we're talking about spring, we're in this place, the word that keeps coming to me is of emerging and emergence. And if I think about what has to happen in plants or in seeds or in trees, if you're talking about a seed or a plant, like there has to be, the roots have to be there, and then the plants can emerge in the world, right? There's a polarity, there's a reaching and a grounding. And as we emerge in spring, our temptation is often to reach and to move and to be very active. And it's finding that balance between the grounding and the emerging, or the grounding and the reaching. And also thinking about that emerging, for plants to grow, for leaves to leaf out, they need nourishment. They need light, they need moisture, they need food. And for us to emerge and to move forward well, we also need nourishment. And as we think about how we care for our bodies in the season of spring, it is paying attention to, in my mind, the grounding while we start to emerge. And it is paying attention to the nourishment that we need. And if you think about winter as a period of hibernation, right? Ideally, we've been a little bit more internal, maybe a little bit more slower, but really doing the work of restoring and of regrouping or regrowing or being inside more. And I understand that's relative, that we all lead very busy lives in our crazy modern world, or many of us lead very busy lives that are still very active and very in the world. But my hope is that we each had more restorative time and more of an intention to have micro moments of hibernation over the winter to help nourish us. And as we move into spring, the invitation is to emerge slowly, to not like jump out of hibernation and start running, but really to start moving more gently, to be intentional about how we emerge and how we move into spring. From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, spring is associated with the organ system or the meridian of the liver. And the liver is a lot about detoxification, both in the physiology, but in traditional Chinese medicine, like governing qi energy and the flow of qi and blood. And so this is a time where we have been, when I think about it energetically, like we've been sort of all crouched in and protected, and now we are expanding and opening to the world. And we want to do that gently and intentionally and with reverence for and attention to our nervous system and what we need as we move out in the world. But part of that is that there may be pockets of energy or places that have not been as active, and we want to kind of move anything that is stuck and stagnant and detoxify. So also in Ayurveda, it is the season of kapha, which is earth and water as elements. And so you can, out of balance, that can feel very heavy and very dense and very stuck. And so we are gently moving. And if we think about foods for early spring, the traditional teachings are sort of lots of leafy greens, bitters for the liver and for the liver system. And by bitters, even things like arugula, which are a little bit more bitter, kale, chard, spinach, leafy greens, radishes, spring carrots, dandelion, sprouts. And that it's more helpful to have some of these things slightly cooked because the cold is still hard on the digestion for many of us. And again, it depends on your own constitution and also season of life, because often as we age, our digestive system, our fire is a little bit weaker. And so often at this time of year, it's still more helpful to have warmer, more cooked foods. And then the taste in Chinese medicine associated with the liver are the bitters and the sour. And so thinking about sour fruits of like kiwi and grapefruit, and then still spices like ginger, lemon. So really things that are kind of helping to detoxify a little bit. The other thing, and this is both from a traditional perspective, but also from a microbiome perspective, is really thinking about fermented foods and nourishing our microbiome with fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, apple cider, wine vinegars, and salad dressings. So just adding some beneficial bacteria into your gut as well. As we move into an energy that's a little bit lighter, so the heaviness of winter moving into the lighter energy of spring, it is getting like having less heavy foods, so less heavy oils, less dairy if you eat dairy, and moving into sort of lighter foods like veggies and grains. And then in terms of activity, again, each body is different. And some people have very vigorous exercise regimens that they maintain all year, and that feels good in their body, and that is great. Checking in with your body about what feels good. And the more traditional or more seasonally based idea is that we move gently. So we are adding more energy into our activity than we did in the winter, but we are not just starting off running. And so it is like thinking about how we begin to add more energy, more activity, longer walks, longer hikes, more sun salutations, or kind of more heat building poses in yoga, but balanced with rest. Like we don't need as much rest as we did in winter, but we still want to rest and nourish our system because it's still early spring. And so all of this is just ideas. Like these are ways that other systems of healing have thought about what the body needs by thinking about living in alignment with the seasons and the energy of the seasons. My experience is that every body is different and has different needs, and it has different needs at different seasons of life. And so I share this because these are things that have helped me and helped my patients, is to add in pieces of seasonal living and to try it, right? So if I say that leafy greens are great for you right now, which we know they're, from a phytochemical perspective, they're always good for you. Try that, add some in, change up what you're doing and see how your body feels. And then you get to decide yes, that was helpful and I want to keep doing that. Or that didn't actually feel good in my body. Eat raw greens, eat cooked greens, see how that feels differently, because what my body needs is not necessarily what your body needs. But in my experience, adding in components of seasonal living and especially seasonal eating is beneficial for almost everyone. And often from more of a conventional perspective, we just think about the phytochemicals. So strawberries have great antioxidants. And so we talk about eating, you should maybe eat berries all year round. But from a traditional perspective, berries are cold. And so they're not the foods that we're eating in late fall or winter. We might be moving into eating berries now as they become available and ripe. So there are different ways of looking at how we nourish our body, and it is up to us to get information and try it in our body and see how it feels, which means you eat something or you try something and then you have to check in, right? We can't just eat and then forget about it. We have to eat and check in, or we have to rest and check in, or exercise and then check in. As I'm adding more movement or more intense movement, how is that feeling in my body? Because if your body is depleted and stressed, adding intense exercise may help discharge some of that stress. That's how I used exercise for many years. It was a great way to burn off the stress and distress that I didn't know what to do with, but it really wasn't. It was depleting my body. It wasn't actually as good for me as I thought it was. And so it's learning to check in and understand why I'm doing something and what effects it's having on my body and what I might need to do differently and what works. So those are my thoughts. I just hope that you really enjoy emerging. There's so much promise in the season. There's so much of a feeling of renewal and new growth and new opportunities. And for me, I'm really feeling this sense of needing to pause and sort of regroup as I figure out what I want to grow and what I want to emerge, or what wants to emerge in these next seasons. And it feels like it needs an intentional pause. It feels like I need to take some time to pause and to really anchor and to sit with what is it that I want to focus my time and attention and energy on in these next seasons. So I would offer you some reflection questions to ponder. And one of them is about balance and sort of how are you balancing reaching and grounding? How are you balancing moving forward and staying anchored and stable? Because if you think about if we're trying to reach forward, but we don't have a stable ground, we just topple forward and fall over, right? And so the balanced version is that we need the anchor, we need our roots in order to be able to really reach and stay stable. So what is that balance for you, and what does that look like? And how are you nourishing your body in this season? Like what is your body needing? What might you need to change? What feels like it's working for now that you really want to continue? But how are you taking care of you, body, mind, and spirit in this season? And then what is emerging? Like what is wanting to be put in the world or called into your life in this season? And lastly, as one season has come to a completion and we are now in the beginning of this new season of spring, what in your life came to completion and what in your life is beginning? Like, can you see mirrors in your own life of the seasonal cycles? So I would invite you to think about those as over the next days, just kind of let them percolate, maybe journal, maybe not, whatever feels good to you. And then I have a couple things that I wanted to read. This is a quote from David White. What shape waits in the seed of you to grow and spread its branches against a future sky? What shape waits in the seed of you to grow and spread its branches against a future sky? And then this is just one of my favorites, so I'm going to read it. This is from Maria Sabina. It says, cure yourself with the light of the sun and the rays of the moon, with the sound of the river and the waterfall, with the swaying of the sea and the fluttering of birds. Heal yourself with mint, with neem and eucalyptus. Sweeten yourself with lavender, rosemary, and chamomile. Hug yourself with the cocoa bean and a touch of cinnamon. Put love in tea instead of sugar and take it looking at the stars. Heal yourself with the kisses that the wind gives you and the hugs of the rain. Get strong with bare feet on the ground and with everything that is born from it. Get smarter every day by listening to your intuition, looking at the world with the eye of your forehead. Jump, dance, sing so that you live happier. Heal yourself with beautiful love and always remember you are the medicine. So I hope you have a wonderful season of spring. Thank you for being here. And remember that you and your life truly are the medicine.